Hi guys, welcome back, and hello if you are new. I hope that all is well with you guys. As you can tell, I am somewhat under the weather and have been for quite a while, to be fair, which is one of the reasons that this video is a little bit late. It was meant to go out on Monday, but I felt absolutely awful. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about me being ill. Perhaps one of the best modern metal bands out there, Lamb of God, have been slowly but surely amassing a huge fan base over the years. And despite many tragedies, lineup changes and various difficulties, nothing has slowed the band down. Now, after the slightly underwhelming return of their self-titled record, Lamb of God are back with, I think, one of their best records in the last decade, in the form of the absolutely furious Omens. So if you're not familiar with Lamb of God, they are a band who pretty much led the charge of the new wave of American heavy metal. They are characterized by a real sense of groove, where rhythm is absolutely key. And Randy Blythe, who I think is one of the best metal vocalists there's ever been, to be totally honest. First things first, there is absolutely no fucking around on Omens. This record is fast, feral and ferocious, and I definitely think that Randy Blythe has a huge amount to do with that. His vocal performance on this album is absolutely exceptional. Omens feels like things are taking a more back to basics approach, not just in the songs themselves, but the way they were created. So this record was produced by Josh Wilbur, who has worked with the band for many years. It was also pre-prod, which is essentially the bit that comes before the recording of the album, with all of the members of the band, and a large majority of it was tracked live. So that means all the members in the room playing at the same time. As a result, I think this record has a real sense of urgency to it, and that feeling that you only get when you hear 5 people in one room playing to each other and locking in that sort of spiritual moment almost. And it's something where it's almost kind of like capturing lightning in a bottle. And I think this is perfectly seen on Denial Mechanism, which is a short, sharp ripper. It's like 2.5 minutes long, but it really showcases that sense of that energy, and I think harks back to the world of like hardcore and punk, which obviously is a huge inspiration for Randy Blythe. He's a massive Bad Brains fan, and I could hear a lot of that sort of influence coming in on this track. It's also one of the most pissed off songs I've heard Lamb of God write in a very long time. Personally, this is my favourite kind of Lamb of God, you know, where you hear that aggression, that pure power that Lamb of God often embody. And there were some moments on this record where I got that same feeling of, oh, fucking hell, like, you know, the wheels are gonna fall off, as I did with As the Palaces Burn, which is like almost 20 years ago that they made that record. From a thematic standpoint, this very much feels like Lamb of God's Death Atlas, if you will, where everything is despondent, everything is negative, and really, when you look out the window and you see what humanity is kind of faced with and what it's like at the minute, life is not the best. And this record sounds like that. It sounds like it has these notions of being really just pissed off with the world. September Song is definitely a set piece and has a nice melodic sort of side to the band, but obviously kind of gets into that locked in riffing. But it reminded me a little bit more of, like, you know, the latter sections of Wrath, that sort of thing. Vanishing, I think, also hints at kind of like a melodic death metal influence, but I liked the slightly unorthodox style of songwriting that they put together, particularly with that sort of stop-start section. I thought that was really cool. But there's also more of a slower, more groove-oriented approach on Ill Designs and To the Grave, where they kind of focus a little bit more on atmosphere and creating that vibe, which I guess you've probably seen, you know, in sort of like Resolution, Sturm and Drang, that kind of era. I think it's also worth mentioning that the signature element of technicality to the band has returned, which I don't think was quite as in the forefront on the last record. Ditch is essentially a hold my beer of technical riffs, you know, where it's kind of like, right, okay, you want to see something fucking fast? Here we go. Like, it's honestly just a sort of swirling dervish of riffs that Mark Morton and Willie Adler are just firing straight at you. But it's not just being fast for fast's sake, however. You know, Gomorrah is more of a mid-paced sort of song, but I think kind of looks at some of the ideas they've experimented with the previous albums, but has kind of fleshed it out a bit better. and kind of focuses on elements of silence as well, where sort of like less is more. Most importantly though, I think this record just goes where you want it to go. There were a couple of moments on the previous one where I was kind of like, okay, I'm getting ready, and it just missed the mark a little bit. Whereas this one hits everything on the nail. And I think the title track of Omens is a great example of this brilliant songwriting on Omens, the title track. So first off, we start with a single guitar, palm muted notes, pan to the left. Next up, we get the other guitar, pan to the right, playing the notes as well. So you've got two sides here now, with some kind of cymbal flare and the bass coming in. Then the actual rhythm of the drums comes in. The guitars then change from playing individual notes to some power chords, and Randy kind of comes in. I'm falling out of touch. Where do you think I am? But then the drums pick up the pace. We're still playing this kind of like hybrid of individual notes and power chords, and Randy's getting even more fired up, and then you just get projected into that chorus. It's a world-class use of dynamics, and I think that Lamb of God are indelibly brilliant at it. I also think it's worth mentioning that Art Cruz, I think, really holds his own. He's done a really, really great job of this record. I think he's bringing more of his personality out in the drums, because it must have been pretty fucking daunting, you know, going after one of the best drummers in modern metal and then trying to kind of speak your piece. But I think he's done an absolutely fantastic job on Omens. With this new album, Lamb of God have somehow returned back into that state of mind of a young, hungry band that are destined to break out from the underground. But in doing so, combine their level of over 20 years experience and being genre leaders to create one of the finest achievements that we've heard this year. 100% is an absolutely fantastic record. So I hope you guys enjoyed this album review. Let me know what you think of the record and the video in the comments underneath me. I can't wait to see what you guys think of this. I think it's a massive return to form, and I will see you guys very soon for another album review.